Welcome to Apex Racing TV, and welcome to the VRS Sprint Championship here from Lime Rock Park. Tyler Maxson alongside Sam Fitzpatrick here in the commentary booth tonight. So Sam, thank you for coming in on such short notice here to the championship and commentating for us tonight. Should be a great race here at this legendary racetrack.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolute pleasure to be here. Great to see these GT3 cars once again. A while since I last commentated on them, I believe. And this Lime Rock Park, extremely short circuit, extremely unique circuit, something like 7 right-handers to 2 left-handers, and is absolutely unique to iRacing, and should be some fantastic action. Not easy to overtake one bit, but often we see that improve the racing so much, so should be good fun.
Yeah, definitely should be. We got a 40-minute race ahead of you today here at Lime Rock Park. You can see your conditions up on the screen. 21 degrees ambient air temperature here in Lime Rock Park. And welcome to the VRS Sprint Championship. So definitely going to be a little bit of a challenge for these guys. A little bit hotter conditions with 9 miles an hour or 9 kilometers of wind. So yeah, a little bit of tricky conditions, 24 degrees track temperature, so that's definitely going to prove some interesting, like you said, with like 7 right-handers to 2 left-handers. So it'll be a very interesting to see whether drivers take 1 tire, 2 tires, or how they decide to do that in the end.
Yeah, absolutely. And yeah, those tires do take a while to put on, but you're absolutely right. If you can bolt on some of the tires on that left side, then you could have a big advantage potentially on some of your rivals, and you really don't want to get stuck behind any drivers. With the closeness of the field currently, it's going to be ever so important to find the fastest strategy. Currently, from 8th down to 19th are separated by a 10th. So that's how close the action is. Here's Thomas Barman, and actually he's going into the pits. Very unique pit entry, and unique pit exit could be a few issues, as Ispan Ford will just starts his lap now. Just a few drivers yet to complete their 2 lap times that they can do.
Yeah, definitely. As you can see up there in the top left-hand corner of your screen, we got just about 50 seconds left to go here in qualifying tonight. So definitely a little bit of to see if they can get a second lap done. I believe this is his second lap, so he probably will get this lap done. But for drivers who are only on their first lap, it'll be interesting to see if they can actually get a lap set. As we are going to look over here at Lucio Vargas. So he is on his second lap, I believe. So as they round one of Lime Rock's many right-hand corners.
Yeah, it could just be an oval, pretty much, this place with a few kinks and that. But yeah, ever so unique, and getting a little bit of air over the crest as well. I believe actually Lucio has already set his 2 lap times, so I don't think this is actually eligible. I do often say that sometimes drivers just decide to drive down to get some air time, and it certainly works for him. As qualifying is done, and the cars are gooding up now.
Yep, so we'll go ahead and run you through your grid here today. So Sergio Medea starts on the pole alongside Tobias Leginas. Paul Petty starts at a 3rd alongside Bjorn Himbeck. Tim Sinchinelling and Caden Behan alongside in row number 3. Slim Long and Chris Barganao. Wow. I'm going to butcher all these names on this list, and I'm really sorry for that.
Today. You got a difficulty today.
Yes. Kahin Deemer and Norbert Rasses. And round out your top 10, John Cook and Ricardo Silvia in 11th and 12th. Benjamin, I don't even want to try to pronounce the last name because I'm going to butcher it really bad, so I'm very sorry to everyone there. Marco Diaz and Lee Brown out of 16th, and 16th is Kevin Wheel. 17th is Thomas Barryman. 18th, Daniel Jiskin. 19th is Mac Miller. 20th, Jason Phillips. 21 is Jockey Su. 22 is Robbie Carandoof. 23 is James King. Tingo Lurindo, 24th. Sebastian Handler, 25th. Pierre Rodriguez, 26th. Lee Machiski, 27th. Ivan Fador, 28th. Lucio Vargas and Brandon Wilson round out your grid of 30 drivers here in Lime Rock Park. And man, that is nearly impossible to say those names correctly.
You did a good job, Super. Hopefully by the end of this 40 minutes we'll have a slightly better idea of how to pronounce these names. But out in front, Sergio Medina leading the cars round, and actually in qualifying he was 4/10 clear. He's the highest I-rated driver in this series. Or in this race, apologies. The lower the number, the higher I-rating they have. It's quite a good ranking system, of course, they have in iRacing. And in that BMW, perhaps the advantageous car round this circuit, and he was really a long way ahead of the rest of the field, so it'll be interesting to see if he can pull away. But behind that, absolutely no idea this is how this is going to turn out. The first lap is going to be ever so important for these drivers. Often some issues can occur. And what a great 40-minute race this is. Absolutely sprint to the checkered flag, no doubt.
Yeah, definitely a sprint to the checkered flag as we're going to round the second and final corner, one of the a little bit more difficult corners on the track. Definitely in this final sector with a lot of fast sweeping corners and walls that are very, very close to the edge of the track if you do make a mistake. But Medea and Lutigens on the pole in the front row, and the pace car is going to pull off now. So the pace car is in. It is down to Medea. So Sergio Medea is going to lead the field down to turn 1 as my game decides to completely, pretty much, disappear there on me. So as I am going to try to get that up for you here. Apologies for that one.
Yes, Medea just leading the cars around, so relatively staying the same at the moment. Who has benefits there? Marcos Diaz a couple of places up into 12th, but really not too many issues. Matt Miller's got a little bit of a poor start out there, as they get incredible air over the crest, I must say. And yeah, pretty much not too much happening, thankfully, so I've still got these 30 cars riding out there.
Yeah, all 30 cars still on the charge as we're looking here at Caton Behan. He moved up a place off the start. And right now what I'm looking at all the way down through here is your biggest mover as they all jump around there. But that is Lucio Vargas as he is up 8 spots currently in that yellow Audi there. So him from Hispano-America. But I'm going to try to go back to the lead drivers here as get back here to your leader. So Sergio Medea leads right now. I'll get the interval up for you there on your timing screen. He has got a 1 second advantage. So right now Medea is using that qualifying pace to his advantage and absolutely stretching away from the rest of the field here.
Yeah, absolutely, and hopefully you'll be able to kind of get the balance between pace and kind of consistency out there, because if you make a mistake out here, that can so easily be your day done. And in such a competitive field, no doubt if you pick up a bit of damage, that's really going to send you tumbling down the order. A little bit of side-by-side just ahead of this. I think that was Lou going past Schilling. And, well, these now drivers, these 5 drivers, all kind of bunching into one another. We've got Kostamir just at the back of this pack, as we're going to see side-by-side. That's Rask and Ferragono going side-by-side. And in the end, Rask managed to stay ahead, so up 2 positions from his start. And, well, this battle is going to carry on for a few more corners. These BMWs, I must say, doing pretty well. Certainly seems to be a good BMW circuit.
Yeah, definitely a good circuit for the BMW. It definitely would suit it here. But as we are going to look a little bit more forward towards the front, just 0.6 of a separate the entire front field. So they're pretty much all under a second here. That is one thing that Lime Rock is really, really good for, is providing some great racing, as Chris Faragino is right now on the back of Diemar. So he is right there, just half a second back from him. The gap was even less than that just a few seconds ago, as we're going to look back even more now down to John Cook. So John Cook as well, right on the back of Brown, Lee Brown. So he is right there. Pretty much everyone bunched up all the way through the field.
Yeah, he had a bit of a troublesome second lap, I believe, Dick Cook. Lost a few positions, and means that he's down 4 positions from his starting place of 11th as he runs a little bit wide there, but seems to collect it all in time. This is the type of racing that we're going to see on the most part, I think. Drivers about 0.3 of a second between the pair of them, and just not being able to make the moves. You can see down at that turn 1 in particular, just not a big braking zone whatsoever. It's so narrow, this circuit. Kind of just got to get your opponent on the surprise. Very early turning for a lot of the drivers, actually, in that turn 2. Be wanting to pick up that early apex, but must say, Silver is really closing in on Ferragino, who started up in 8th position, but he's just been stepping back. He's now got a bit of a train forming behind him.
Yeah, definitely just a little bit of a train forming now. So they're all pretty much just right there in a line. I'm just going to try to stay on this battle here. These 4 cars looks to me one of the best battles here on the track. So there's the battle for 8th. Goes all the way back to 13th, but we really only need it to go back to just about 11th, where they're all just so close with each other. So it is for Gagino, Silva, Melly, Jason, and Diaz. Those 4 are all right there with each other here.
Yeah, absolutely, and if anything, did Ferragino actually close in a little bit on that lap? No, he's kind of was 1/10 slower than De Meyer on that last lap, so he's not quite catching up. I was thinking maybe this is going to become an even bigger battle, but just dropping back ever so slightly. De Meyer cost about 0.8 of a second up the road, you can see, and right now you've got to be so careful, particularly, I'd say, Neil Houston. The fact that he's now under big pressure, we're going to see side by side with Diaz trying to go down the inside into turn 1. Diaz maybe with the optimal line, he's got to be careful not to make contact, but the outside line really working well, very much cambered that corner, and that really helped Neil Houston there to stay ahead.
Yeah, and there is Tim Sechilling, as he is just now half a second back in that 7th spot. So I'll pull the intervals back up for you there, as there's also a battle for 5th as well with Slim Loom. He is just, I believe, he's got 3 cars right behind, or 2 cars right there, right behind him. That 3-car battle is still going on here, as we do have 2 drivers in the pit lane, the Canadorf and Sue. I believe that both of them are out of this race, though. So those, those 3 now that are in the pit lane out of the race. So shame to see them go this early.
Oh, Mule Houston, I believe, with a bit of an issue down in 15th position. Just lost a couple of places, and also Ferragino as well, just losing a place to Silva. So we were talking about how Ferragino was kind of dropping back a little bit, and now Silva up into 10th position. So now Silva, will he be able to go and hunt down Demir and Rasp ahead of him? Not quite sure, to be honest, but well, we'll have to keep an eye on these times, and of course anything they can do with the pit stops as well could help them as well later on in this one. Ferragino already dropping back into the clutches of Diaz.
Yeah, he's already jumping back into the clutches of Diaz, and that's definitely something that you have to keep an eye on at this track, is how easy it is to make a mistake and let your opponent catch up, as Diaz is now going to go down the inside. He is going to get that move done down into turn 1. So Ferragino is going to move back just 1 more spot there. You can see he lost a lot of time on that lap due to having to make that pass. So Diaz, though, closing back up, as Tim Schilling, he is right back up here on the bumper of Loong. So he's also got Rasses right up on his bumpers. You can see big air time as he comes up over the hill.
Yeah, absolutely. I doubt that. Well, of course, they do run GT3s in the IMSA sports car series, don't they, around the circuit? Although it has been modified quite a bit, so unfortunately you don't have that crest anymore. But one of the most demanded circuits, I'm sure, for iRacing, seeing that the headquarters, I believe, are a mere 20 miles or something away from the circuit. But well, they keep on adding stuff to this track, so they're always very hesitant to go scan it and add it to the game. But I'm sure this this version of this circuit still very much is very good, despite the fact that it's over 10 years old. Of course, as Schilling 0.2 of a second behind now. He's just waiting for a mistake. They're both in the Mercedes, so there's no advantage down the straight for him. But right now, credit to Luke, he is absolutely driving on the racing line every single corner and giving his rival absolutely no opportunity to go for the overtake.
Yeah, absolutely no opportunity as your race leader, Sergio Medea, extends his lead now. It's now to 3.5-second advantage. He's just set the fastest lap of the race at 147.1, so he is on an absolute charge, 0.8 of a second faster than the next driver back in second place, Tobias Leginis. So Medea is absolutely gone in this race here, as these two still very, very close. This is the tightest battle on the entire circuit here. So as they come up the hill, yeah, this is definitely a track that iRacing has talked about rescanning, but I agree with you. I think that they're just kind of waiting for them to stop changing the track up and then go scan it before they waste a whole bunch of time and money to scan it and then change the track next year.
Yeah, absolutely. I think they fell victim to that at Charlotte Motorsport Park, as well as down the inside goes Rask. And this could be a pretty simple move, potentially. No, Schilling's going to try to stick it around the outside. And, well, still on the outside, not quite within that cambered zone of the corner either for Schilling. But he does pull ahead, fortunately for him. So that just shows if you fall off the racing line ever so slightly, you can go from attack to defence. And still, these three ever so close to one another. And also, Bine just ahead. Petty and Bine, third and fourth, closing to within about 0.3 of one another as well. So difficult to keep up with all the action, because he just feels like there could be a race decisive move at any moment.
Yeah, there pretty much can be here. That's it's definitely one of the hardest parts of broadcasting here at Lime Rock Park, is that it's always a battle somewhere on the track, and you always got to try to be keeping an eye on everything here, as there are so many battles on the track at one time. But I believe we're right now looking at one of the best battles on the track. I wouldn't be surprised if we see Schilling try to make the move. He thought about it, couldn't get the move done. He had his nose in there but thought better of it. But this battle is just letting Demare catch right back up to the rear end of Ras.
Oh, look at this. He's going to go for the inside. Very ambitious move. He got an awesome launch. And now they're going to go side by side over the crest. Almost off the circuit there for Lee. But Schilling couldn't take advantage. That was the best opportunity he had. He closed to it, then about half a tenth. Drew parts of his car, at least alongside. But as we see, so around so many of these corners, the outside line works very well. As down the inside goes Bin now, past Petty. And that's a crucial move up into third position.
Yeah, so he's up into third position here. That's now going to promote him up to third, and he is just already pulling away, so you can tell that he definitely had the pace over Petty, as we are going to go back to that battle with Schilling, Long, and Ras. So those three right now just all really, really close together, and I think we're pretty much going to see this till the end of the race. Do keep in mind that there is one pit stop that has to be done here in today's race, so each driver will have to make at least one pit stop, as we're just 1/4 of the way through the race at this point, 11 minutes into this 40-minute race, and already completing lap 15. So that just shows you how short this circuit is. They'll probably compete close to 50 laps here at this circuit by the time we're done with it.
Yeah, pretty insane how short this circuit is. Probably, almost certainly, the shortest on the VRS GT Sprint Series calendar. But certainly is a very welcome addition. Good to see these kind of unique, almost club circuits. Of course, it does hold some kind of national events, does Lime Rock, but certainly a very old school circuit rather than the kind of the generic European circuits. So great to see it out there. As Schilling getting a lot of air there. The better run you get off that corner, the more air you get over the crest, I think. So it's a pretty good indicator of how the drivers are nailing that corner. And Schilling doing a half-tenth behind. And no mistake again from Luke, just no opportunity. And if anything, Demir now gets involved in this one. And Diaz as well, just maintaining the gap in that red car you can see just in the background. But not really making too much of an impression at the moment.
Too much indeed right now, as those three right now, they are probably the closest battle on this entire track. If I can get the battle box to work right this time, we kind of get the battle box to work right. But yeah, you can see the battle here for 6th place, Long, Schilling, and Raz, and Demar is really not that far behind as we're looking right here at Demar, so it's turning into a 4-car battle. So I think that these guys are going to have to start getting by Long soon if they want to have a chance and not make this be even a 5-car battle soon.
Yeah, I think so. And oh, Luke is actually pretty close this time. gap went down to about 1.5 tenths of a second down into turn 1, but Schilling just couldn't quite make it. As he looks to the outside now, when he goes for the dummy, you can just see it's so narrow around this circuit. There's no opportunity for even a dive bomb. Now, this is where he got super close about a couple of laps ago. Now, into the slipstream. It's a short run for Schilling, but maybe you can look down the inside into this next right-hander, but just stays behind. Probably the wise thing to do. To be fair to Schilling, hasn't got impatient so far in this race. He's very much biding his time. But right now, that tactic really isn't profiting him too much, as he's only 2 tenths of a second going onto the main straight, but just failing to absolutely nail that launch out of the final corner.
Yeah, just really those three just so close, and you saw just how narrow the circuit was there from the nose cam. It just really shows you how close the circuit is and how close the drivers have to be willing to get to each other around the circuit, because it's barely even enough space to go too wide. So if you really do want to battle, then you just have to be willing to take the risk here. Definitely a little bit of a tight track for these GT3 cars, but it does definitely provide some great racing and some very hard racing. Always a great track to race MX-5s at, but these GT3 cars, definitely something, a new addition that we're just now kind of seeing on the iRacing calendar. I can't remember the last time Lime Rock has been on a GT3 calendar in a long while.
Yeah, definitely. I've done a couple of IMSA races around here, and well, of course, that's multi-class action, so not easy whatsoever. Lots of offs in that event, but it was still absolutely great fun. Right now, for Schilling, he's just not being able to make a move, and every lap that goes by, you feel his chances of making the overtake kind of reduce ever so slightly as Lug learns how to defend. As off goes De Meyer. And he was doing so well, easing up to the back of these drivers, but he's had an off in the background and still rejoining the circuit. The grass area is so large around this Lime Rock track, and this high mate just got onto the curb, and car bounced a little bit awkwardly, fortunately missed the barriers, but he'll be kicking himself for that, and he's losing more positions now.
Yeah, definitely an easy mistake to make around this place, not an easy one to recover from. Like we were saying, lucky he didn't do it in somewhere that's a little bit tighter, a little bit harder to get separated, or try to get the car saved before you get it into the wall. So these three, though, still staying pretty close to each other. Lug, Schilling, and Raz. We have been talking about that pretty much this entire time because it's been the best battle on the track right now. But it is heating up back in 14th right now between Tebben De Wheel, Cardenduff, and Fergagino. So those three still really close there. Just about 8 tenths of a separate them. And Cook is also right there on the back of Cardenduff. So he is going to maybe try to look for a move up the hill and possibly down into the first corner.
Yeah, that BMW certainly seems to have some attributes better. It seems to get off the final corner very impressively. But of course, that absolute straight line speed, maybe it lacks in comparison to the Mercedes. Anyone who's ever driven these GTDs will absolutely know that's always been the case with these cars, certainly at least for the last 3 years or so, as he looks to the inside, maybe just trying to scare his opponent off the circuit. But very much staying in line at the moment. Down the inside into turn 3 though. And that's a great move from the 25 car. Maybe a little bit of a wide berth there for Cardenduff, and it opened up the opportunity for Cook, and he absolutely took it with both hands.
Yeah, awesome job. And as you can see there in the background, Cardenduff now got a whole bunch of pressure from Sue. So Sue is pretty much right on the back of him now, trying to get him to make a mistake. You will remember Jockey Sue from last week was your most positions gained last week. I don't believe he has the most positions gained right now. I'm going to try to look through there. I believe that's between either Marco Diaz or Lee Brown right now. But as you see, just about a lap ago, you had your race leader Sergio Medea pit. Now, this is pretty much right at the beginning of the pit stop window for all of these drivers, as we are going to go back up to Tim Schilling. They have just 4 tenths of a second now to Loon, so that group is kind of spread out just a little bit, but these two still very much staying right there on each other, as we are going to ride on board with Schilling here and try and see what the perspective of this track is on board with him. So we're going to try to get you this entire onboard lap here. So you can just see by this camera shot, though, how tight the circuit really is, and how if they even just put one tire in the grass, you could easily end up going up a hill or into a tire barrier.
Yeah, absolutely. This next corner certainly very much the tightest corner on the circuit, and you'll see on the exit just how easy it is to lose the rear end. The car can go a little bit light potentially. Just a little bit of a lift off over the crest. That could be slightly better. Get a bit of a bit of an advantage there. And then this final corner, ever so important to absolutely nail the exit. You see Luke just not making any mistakes currently and maintaining that gap. Pretty close just behind Diaz versus Rack. And Diaz so far up to 6th positions. Great race for him. But wasn't quite close enough down into turn 1. At least he's got, you know, the Mercedes, he's got the grunt, he's got some strength over his rival. Whereas that Luke Schilling battle, they're both in the Mercedes, so there isn't really an advantage for either of them. So it really does reduce the prospect of an overtake. But right now for Diaz, he's looking pretty quick. Maybe an early pit stop, could that be an option for him? Because he could potentially jump Rask and maybe even Luke and Schilling as well, right now.
Yeah, I completely agree with you. It wouldn't be a half bad idea. We're just about to the halfway point in this race, so this is pit stop window is very much open for these drivers. It wouldn't be a bad idea for him to jump into the pits a little bit early, try to get on some fresh tires, and he could probably come out ahead of Schilling and Rask if he were to do that, and possibly even ahead of Leung if he was able to really get a good stop, because those three drivers still really close, and he's definitely got some pace over the guys ahead of him. Just it's Lime Rock Park. It's just such a hard track to pass at. There's just no place for him to make a surefire pass.
Yeah, definitely. So he's going to have to get creative about it, just dropping back a little bit as this lap progresses this time round. But very much just waiting for this race to be really ignite. It's still pretty close between Bin and Petsy, only 2.5 seconds between the two of them, but Bin kind of just pulling away there. Petsy only 1.6 seconds ahead of Heimbach, and Heimbach has actually been a little bit faster recently, I believe, so relatively close gap there. And then, of course, a little bit of a gap back to Luke and Schilling. Just wonder if Schilling was ahead of Luke, could he maybe challenge Heimbach, get up to the back of him, because still only 3 seconds between those two. And Barman versus Faragonier still going on out there. That's the battle for 11th and 12th. So we saw Faragonier very much in the battles earlier on. But Barman holding on to that position, started in 17th position. So great race for him so far. But I do feel as though that Ferrari, seeing that it's used by no other drivers up there, surely has got a bit of a disadvantage you would expect. But it is quite a large car, so maybe can defend a little bit easier against his rivals.
Yeah, definitely an easier car to defend with, but also a very hard car to actually use. But Medea, I'm seeing him drop down the grid here, trying to get him. Really, oh, nope, he is still up in the lead, so just a little bit of a glitch there with the timing screen there. Gave me a little bit of a scare. I thought he was out of the race, but he is back and staying in position there. So as we are seeing several drivers get into the pits. I'm just trying to find a good driver to get. There we go. So struggling to get the drivers selected there, as a bunch of people were moving all over the grid order. As I hear something in the background, I don't know exactly what happened, but Schilling is just...
sounded like a blown engine, didn't it? I'm not quite sure though.
Yeah, it sounded to me like someone was either hit the wall or blew up an engine or something. Was
it Cook by any chance? Just seeing him drop down. No, Cook is fine, apologies, so that was my bad. But something happened to a driver, I think. Although Benjamin Mielhusen has just retired from the race. He was running decently early on, and then I think had a crash. And I think he may have just crashed for the second time, so that would explain the sound there. Yep,
so just 0.2 of a second. Tim Silling to Leung. So those two very close. I'm going to be interested to see when they come in to make their pit stops, or if they already have, because I do believe that some of these drivers have already made the pit stops, as don't currently have the pit stop working, because I do know that several drivers have already made their pit stops. So we will head back to your interval there. But yeah, these two pretty much the closest battle in the races. They do make contact, and that's going to be Leung around. So we'll try to get a replay here of that one. So yeah, just a little bit of nose contact there, and that's just going to send Lung around. So definitely maybe a little bit too close racing there, but Lung is definitely not going to be happy about that one.
Yeah, absolutely not. I was commending Schilling's patience earlier on, but I don't think that was necessarily anger because I don't think he has really much to be angry about, as Schilling is now going to lose a position, is he, to Diaz. So Diaz now up 9 places, gains a couple of places on that lap, very much just gifted to him. Sure, there's all of a sudden an issue for Schilling, or maybe he's maybe struggling with the guilt of that mistake on the last lap. But he's all of a sudden really dropping back quite a bit. All of a sudden, Rask now very much in range. Luke dropped down into 8th place, is now 6 seconds behind these guys. So doubt he's going to be able to catch by the end of this race. But Schilling certainly having some troubles out there all of a sudden.
Definitely a little bit of troubles there. So I believe I am going to try to get a commercial break here for us in just a second. Here to get us a little bit of a break here, here on Apex Racing TV, but just going to kind of look here as we go a little bit further back. You'll look at Sylvia. So Sylvia is just about 0.3 of a second now behind Brown. So those two very, very close behind them. So try to get this all sorted out. I'm going to hand it over to you.
Yes, and yeah, Silver just dropping back, yeah, just behind Brown still. Both Mercedes cars. So like I said earlier on, not too much of an advantage around any part of the circuit necessarily. Barman now really closing in as well. So this could turn into a 4-way battle with Ferragonio catching up as well. Don't think there's going to be a move down into turn 1 on this occasion. But just 0.2 of a second between the two of them, and also on the try. Very much in the mix. They're 3.5 seconds behind Luke, who of course had that spin earlier on. And all of a sudden a nice 4-way battle this for the last spots in the top 9 drivers.
Yeah, amazing battles. We are going to go over to a quick commercial break here on Apex Racing TV, and we'll be back in just a few moments' time. Welcome back to Apex Racing TV. As just going to update there. So just got back into the into it now. So we are back in it now. So for Gino is now just about 0.3 of a second behind Brown. Not much has changed since we were gone, but now it is going to be Brown is going to duck into the pit lane. So just about 14 minutes left, and we're seeing some drivers jump into the pit lane.
Yeah, the two leaders, Medina and Byrne, as well, coming into the pits. But Medina almost actually made contact with this little pack of cars, so that could have been a bit troublesome for him. But got away with that, so we see side by side between the Audi there. That's Byrne and Luke, getting very close to one another, and Silver as well. The three of them ever so close to each other at the moment. Some of these drivers have pitted, some of these drivers haven't pitted, but Byrne has pitted. Luke and Silver are yet to, and certainly expect them in the next couple of laps. But maybe expected them to go a little bit further in this race. This line Rock Park are usually quite low on fuel consumption, but quite a difference in strategy. Some of the front runners, some of the drivers out there pitting quite early, and some of these drivers being able to go some 3-4 laps further seemingly. Paul Petty now, the race lead out there, he's yet to pit.
Yeah, so Petty is currently a race leader, but he is let to pit like you just did say. and Lung and Sylvia. Those two still very, very close here. So this battle of 4 really hasn't backed off this entire race. I believe Bian has already pitted, and I don't believe these drivers have. So a little bit of an advantage there for him, and I believe that Medea has also pitted. That is why he's not currently in the lead, as now we're going to see Lung is going to try to defend here from Vergino behind, so that's going to get very, very close in turn 1. There is a car off. I don't know exactly what happened there. I'll try to get a replay for you here in just a second, but as we climb out of there, just for Gugino now really on the back end of Lung, so those two really, really close together there. So I'm going to try to look for the replay of what happened with the driver on the inside.
Yeah, that could have caused some issues for the drivers out there, maybe just coming out of the pits and trying to get us out of the way. This was, yeah, this was a replay of what we saw. So I think it was actually a driver coming out of the pits, yeah. And in the end, could have been so much worse for these guys. Yeah, just trying to get out of the way on the inside of the circuit. And possibly the best thing to do, but it's ever so difficult in that situation. As Luke now comes into the pits. Down into 12th position, but he will drop a little bit further down yet. But just carrying on going up there. 10 minutes to go in this race. I'd love to see one driver try to do the no-stopper. They're only limited by the fuel. There's nothing in the rules which strictly says you absolutely have to pit, but usually they set the fuel amount so that you can't quite achieve that zero stopper. But would be absolutely superb if someone at least tried to pull it off. Expect the rest of the drivers in on the next couple of laps.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, still Sue yet to pit, and Cook as well, just ahead of him yet to pit as well.
Yeah, so definitely a difficult one to try to pull off, but it is possible depending on the amount of fuel saving that you can do. If you can really save up some fuel in the opening few laps and just kind of carry on saving a good amount of fuel all the way through the race, it is possible. And the reward can be huge because looking at pit stop times, looking at just about 26 seconds on the pit lane to 30 seconds on the pit lane. So quite a bit of time on the pit lane itself. For these drivers, so 26 seconds on the track can be the difference of you finishing 20th and you winning. So definitely something that's a little bit interesting I've seen is that everyone is really, really spread out in this race. I was expecting to be a lot closer battles here in Lime Rock Park.
Yeah, I think so. Maybe once all the pit stops are gone, I think it might close up a little bit. This is Sue versus Cook. Cook going to the outside, but oh, sorry, that was Sue on the outside, but nice defense there from Cook, holding on in his BMW. The driver who just came out of the pit, I believe, was Rask, who of course was running in the top 6 or 7 earlier on. Heimbank is now the leader, ahead of Diaz. So Diaz, as it stands, up 12 positions. Not bad effort from him today in 2nd place. And yeah, Schilling and Heimbank there in the top 3.
Yeah, so right now your provisional race leader is Medea. So Sergio Medea is your race leader. Caden Bing and Paul Petty, those are your provisional podium right now after everyone has completed their pit stops. As you can see, lap traffic there just pulls off to the inside. But yeah, like you were saying, awesome job right now by Diaz. So he is up 12 spots. He's currently your biggest mover besides Robbie Karendorf. He also hasn't pit, but he right now is up 13 spots. He's tied with Tango Lurio for the most spots gained in this race, as they're having a little bit of a battle right there. Don't know if that was a lap traffic. I believe that was actually battle for position. Yes, it was. So him and Barman having a nice little battle up through turn 2.
Yeah, I think Lurio is yet to come into the pit, so this is a big problem right now for Barman, because we saw him in that big battle earlier on, and he absolutely has to make this move straight away if he's going to make his strategy work. But just having to stay behind at the moment. He'll be hoping that Lurio will come into the pits this time round. It can be so problematic because the drivers are coming across the circuit, especially when you're about to be overtaken, as down the inside goes Barman. He's not keeping up on this on the 27 car. They finds out there's off the circuit just ahead. That was a back marker, I believe, so not too important in this in the context of this battle, as just running a little bit wide. Barman really not helping himself out there, and this has been a very troublesome lap for him. It's caused him to lose a few seconds. It'll be interesting to see if that costs him a couple of positions, because like I said earlier on, was in a very tight battle with a couple of other drivers who are yet to pit.
Yeah, and the Rio just really got very loose there coming off the top of the hill. As we're going to look at Hemi back, he right now is just 0.2 of a second behind Schilling, so those two on a pretty close battle here today, as Rass is further just about 2 seconds behind. So those guys a little bit more spread out there, as we're kind of seeing more of the battles shift towards the back of the field, as we did kind of see the battle for 6th last for quite a bit of time, as we are going to go back to Sylvia in that battle in 12th, so battle for 11th. They got pretty much a 7-8 car train, maybe more, behind them right now, so they're all pretty much in a line, just going to try to sort their way through and see what can happen. But Medea does go back to the lead, so Sergio Medea leads here in Lime Rock Park once again.
Yeah, he should be able to clinch this race victory, looking very good for him at the moment. What a battle this is, though, with Brown and Silver. Miller had an issue earlier on, had to pit really early, but he's 3rd in this train. He pitted on lap 9, so it's going to be marginal whether or not he can get to the end of the race on fuel, but he should just about make it, so it would be a fantastic recovery after, I believe, he had a bit of a crash earlier on. But very much everyone's getting stuck behind Brown right now. Just queuing up. Even Luke is in this battle. We saw Luke up there in 5th position earlier on, but got spun and clearly had a couple of poor laps around his pit stop sequences. He's right at the back of this pack, a daunting task for him to make up any positions. And yeah, also Barman just ahead of these guys, so in the end that little bit of traffic for Barman that he lost time behind didn't cost him too bad. As we see now, under big pressure is Brown. Silver is going to have a great opportunity trying to defend. Is Brown on the inside? Is there space on the inside circuit? A lapped car as well. This could cause massive issues, but Stu goes not sure who that was, but Brown now going off the circuit, and he's lost what, 5, 6, maybe even 7 positions all in one go.
Yeah, so just lost 7. I believe I just counted 7 spots he lost there just in one quick turn of events there. So Sylvia now leads this group. So he now leads this group, but he now has an absolute train of cars behind him, but he is right there on the back now of Cook. So really it is Cook leading this group now of just about 7 cars, 8 cars, the battle here. So quite a big battle of cars, and amazing, really close racing here in the latter 4 minutes of this race.
Yeah, Cook was the one who came out of the pits and caused big issues. Credit to Silver, because he could have easily been put off by that GT3 car coming out of the pits. But no, he kept his foot in and he managed to execute the overtake. So will he be able to pull away from the rest of these guys now? We know Miller and Sue and DeWale as well doing a great job, those 3 drivers, because they were quite far back earlier on, but have absolutely nailed their pit stops, and they're looking on course for solid finishes today.
Definitely on course for some pretty good finishes, those drivers are, as there's just Miller now is just 0.2 of a second, or 0.2 of a second behind Silva now, so he is really close, as Brown as well really close to the back of Loong. Like you were saying earlier, Loong having some issues, got spun around a little bit earlier on in this race, but now he is on, he's got some pressure from Brown. Brown thinks about it, backs out of it though, just knows that he can't make that move from that far back, as Loong drops a wheel and he is off the circuit. So Loong is now going to lose several spots, as we will go back up to Miller now. He's just got about 0.2 of a second in front and behind, as Miller is going to run a little bit wide. He's got to leave some space for Silva on the inside as they make contact going up the hill, and that is Sue down some spots there possibly, or did I miss that? Was that Brown who was down some spots?
Sue had a little bit of an off just after that incident. Not sure who it was who was spun around, but big issues there. It was Silver, apologies, who got spun around. And did he have further contact here? That was how he, yeah, just, well, I'm not sure. What was your opinion on that? Can you portion any blame on anyone there?
I kind of have to call the blame on the driver on the inside. I forgot exactly. I couldn't tell exactly who that was, but kind of have to place the blame on him because really he should have known that there just wasn't enough room to make that work. I believe that was Miller down his inside. Yes, I kind of have to put the blame on him. I really don't think that there was enough room to make that move work successfully, as we just got about 2 minutes left here in this race as they come down the hill. So Medea right now has a 12-second advantage. So he has absolutely commanded this race out from the lead.
Yeah, we kind of guessed that might be the case after that storming qualifying lap he set, where he was 4/10 clear of the rest of the field, which is a massive advantage around such a short circuit and in these GT3 cars as well. So, not really too much surprising that, but the battle's behind. Remember, Bine started in 6th position even, and he's up into 2nd place and had to really make those moves on circuit. Didn't make them during the strategy, so awesome effort from him to be in 2nd place as it stands.
Really nice job from him. He's moving up some more spots, and I believe Diaz is also up into 2nd place, so he's doing an absolutely amazing job. No, actually back to 3rd place. So he is up 11 spots right now. He is right now your biggest mover in this race, up 11 spots. It's absolutely amazing drive by him so far today, as there was a little bit of a battle there with Petty. So Petty has some sort of an issue. Let's see if we can't get a replay and figure out exactly what happened there. So as he just slows. So Petty possibly out of fuel here, or he had some sort of a slowdown penalty.
Yeah, that would be a massive slowdown penalty, and I don't really know where you can pick one up, and he's into the pit, so maybe a hardware issue for him, maybe a frozen screen, although he's been able to complete the lap, maybe a pedal issue, a steering wheel issue, not quite sure, but agonising, because we're pretty much at the end of the race all of a sudden.
Yeah, definitely not the time to be having any sort of hardware issues, especially if you've got any sort of chance at a battle. And I think that the pit stops, the fuel, is catching a lot of people out. That was the word I was looking for. The pit stops and the fuel have caught a lot of people out here today, as Medea does finish the race. So Medea is your race winner. So Sergio Medea wins here in Lime Rock Park. Diaz is going to come home in 2nd, Schilling in 3rd. So those 3 had an amazing battle, and Hembach comes home in 4th, as there is Rass in P5, as we do still have several drivers finishing. So back to Wheel, as he is really close to the back, and he is going to get ahead of Miller there just at the line. So Miller not going to have quite enough fuel to get that one to the line. As back here with Brown, there's just 0.8 of a second there, so they pretty much all cross the line. I believe we don't have too many more to come, so we'll just wait for the official results to come through here. Then we will go ahead and get you your results here this afternoon. But amazing race here, another amazing race in the VRS Sprint Championship at a very tight circuit.
Yeah, absolutely. I think the trains of cars that we saw there were absolutely fantastic. So in the end, those pit stops absolutely decisive. I'm just trying to find the incident with Caden Bine, because he drops from 2nd position to right at the back in the closing stages, and unfortunately, I'm struggling to view it at the moment. But yeah, Bine with a big issue, and it caused him to go from 2nd place all the way down into 15th, where he finished in the end. So plenty of controversy at the end of this race.
Yeah, a lot of controversy, and I'm just kind of going down the list as well, looking to see if I can't find that incident for you guys to get a replay of here today. But any drivers that do want to come over to the Apex Racing TV Discord, we will get some interviews here in just a moment. But yeah, for right now, another amazing race in the VRS Sprint Championship, and our results are in. So I will let you go ahead and take it through the results.
Yes, so Sergio Medina winning out by 12.5 seconds. Absolutely dominant performance ahead of Marcos Diaz and Tim Schilling in 3rd place. Jörg Heimbach was in 4th with Norbert Rask in 5th. There's Thomas Barman. John Cook, great effort from Cook there in 7th place. Kevin DeWell wasn't really doing too much, really benefited during the pit stop sequence. So did Mac Miller and Yok Su as well, rounding out the top 10. Then behind that was Chris Ferragonio in 11th. There's Lee Brown. Simon Luke can be a little bit angry and a little bit pleased with that one, because after that spin and a bit of an issue during the pit stops, to finish in 13th place was not too bad for him in the end. Paul Petty was running really far at the front with just a few corners, with a few laps to go, but ends up in 14th place. Caden Byrne actually crashed at the last corner. I eventually found it and had a crash just 3 laps from the end at the final corner. That's why he finishes a lap down in 15th. There's Ricardo Silva, Diego Lorio, Jason Phillips, Daniel Gishk, Lucio Vargas, Robbie Calendar, Istvan Fodor, Sebastian Handler, Fer Rodriguez, Tobias Luchjans, James King, Brandon Wilson, Hakan Demeyer, Benjamin Muselhessen, and Lee Majewski, rounding out the 30-car field.
Yeah, and I did just find that here, so we'll go ahead and try to get you that replay here. So looking here to see where he went off. He went off the track for 3 seconds, then pretty much immediately entered the pit lane. So yeah, it's just a big spin there in the last corner, bounces off the wall, and loses a lot of spots due to that one. So definitely not the way you want to be ending your championship, or ending the race here today. But we don't have any drivers right now in the waiting room. So yeah, any final thoughts on this one, Sam? I thought that this was an absolutely amazing race. Definitely interested to see what the next one brings.
Yeah, absolutely. It should be absolutely awesome. Frantically looking to see where the actual next race is, but I'm sure it'll be fantastic. Hopefully Ryan will be back, recovering from, I think, losing his voice earlier on today. But next up is Nürburgring, and it's Road America, then it's Nürburgring. So next 2 rounds will be absolutely superb. Road America, one of the best tracks in the world, undoubtedly, and superb for these GT3 cars as well. So that should be fantastic to watch, and very much a different circuit. A circuit around here, of course, where it's almost impossible to overtake to Road America, one of the most race-heavy tracks in the world. So certainly an exciting prospect, that one.
Yeah, definitely an exciting one to watch there. And yeah, like you said, hopefully we have Ryan back for next week. But anyway, thank you for covering the comms here this week. So that has been the VRS Sprint Championships here from Lime Rock Park. My name is Tyler Maxson, from Sam Fitzpatrick and all of us here at Apex Racing TV. We'll see you guys next time.
Once again, photo finish here at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway.